Chen Xiling frowned in disgust. She had loathed Ding Wanping from the very first moment they met, and now she found him even more repulsive. He had negligible skill, yet his arrogance was loftier than the heavens themselves. Her expression remained impassive as she spoke. Ding Wanping, as fellow senior and junior disciples of the same peak, I advise you to cease your insolence at once. Otherwise, this will indeed become your final act of madness, just as my husband foretold. As for why Qin Wenyuan had favored Ding Wanping, her sharp mind had long figured out the crux of the matter. She surmised that Qin Wenyuan was also aware of Fang Chen's identity as a soul master, had misinterpreted the relationship between Fang Chen and Ding Wanping, and wished to do Fang Chen a favor. When the truth was exposed, Ding Wanping would never be able to hold onto his position as young master. Malice flickered in the depths of Ding Wanping's eyes. He could tolerate such words from Fang Chen, but not from Chen Xiling. He had already grown so powerful, so authoritative, so capable of commanding all around him, yet Chen Xiling still looked down on him. This was more than he could bear. Chen Xiling, that is enough. In what way am I inferior to Fang Chen? Ding Wanping roared. He only knows a few cheap heretical arts and defeated me by sheer luck. When it comes to status, I am the young master of the Ding clan. What is he even worth that he dares to step over my head? The words Ding clan young master struck her as utterly ironic. Ding Wanping was truly irredeemably stubborn. She had offered him well-meaning advice, yet he had not reined in his behavior in the slightest. She simply lowered her bright eyes slightly and fell silent, unwilling to waste another word on him. This act of disregard once again stoked Ding Wanping's wounded pride, sending him into a fit of unbridled rage. Fine, you look down on me, do you? Rage surged in Ding Wanping's heart, and malice took root in his very bones. He abruptly turned a withering glare on Fang Chen and spoke in a frigid, menacing tone. Then I will show you exactly how I, Ding Wanping, will crush your beloved fiancé. Chen Xiling's face paled drastically as she cried out in alarm. What do you think you are doing? I warn you, do not act recklessly. Ding Wanping sneered. Doing what? Naturally, I am going to leave him here in the Ding clan, to serve as fertilizer for the flowers and plants. It was not just Chen Xiling who was stunned. All the members of the Ding clan were also struck pale with shock. Ding Zhuhui spoke hastily. Wanping, do not spout such madness. Killing a disciple of the Azure Cloud Sect, no less the sect master's own disciple. How is that any different from open rebellion? If this affair comes to light, the Ding clan will certainly face the catastrophe of complete extermination. Ding Wanping snorted. With Master Qin here, what is there to fear? He is nothing but a useless disciple. Kill him and be done with it. What could possibly happen? Ding Tianxiang had always considered himself quite arrogant, but looking at Ding Wanping's current behavior, he realized he had been far too restrained in the past. No matter how bold he had ever been, he had never dared to dismiss the Azure Cloud Sect as irrelevant. Thus he also offered well-intentioned advice. Wanping, listen to your elder brother's words. Whatever grudge exists between you, you can resolve it however you wish in private. As long as no one dies, there will be no major issues. But killing him right here in the Ding clan, that will bring about catastrophic trouble. It would have been better if he had kept his mouth shut. The moment he spoke, Ding Wanping mocked him. Well, if it isn't the deposed young master of the Ding clan, who do you think you are, that you dare advise me? Go piss on a puddle and look at your own reflection first. He had been suppressed by Ding Tianxiang for far too long, and now he completely cast aside all restraint, publicly humiliating Ding Tianxiang in front of the entire clan. Ding Tianxiang's face flushed crimson with rage as he snarled. Ding Wanping, do not push your luck. Asterisk slap. Asterisk. The only response he received was a brutal slap across the face from Ding Wanping. You are the one being insolent. What kind of trash are you, that you dare speak to me in such a tone? Ding Tianxiang was so enraged, he felt his lungs would burst. His fists clenched tightly, spiritual power surged violently within him, and he ground his teeth so hard they nearly cracked, barely holding himself back from launching an attack. Just then a household servant came to report. Clan head, Master Qin has arrived at the entrance of the manor. Upon hearing this, Ding Zhuhui hurriedly grabbed hold of Ding Tianxiang and whispered, Tianxiang, hold your temper for now. The greater good comes first. If Qin Wenyuan sees you bullying Ding Wanping, all our plans will be for naught. Damn it, Ding Tianxiang was so furious he cracked the ground beneath his foot with a single stomp, forced to swallow his bitter resentment. Yet the overwhelming humiliation and rage roiling in his chest lingered, refusing to fade for a long time. Watching Ding Tianxiang, who had once lorded over him and bullied him as he pleased, receive a slap from him yet dare not voice his anger, Ding Wanping felt an unprecedented surge of delight. He swept his gaze across the rest of the clan members. Anyone else who wishes to advise me, step forward right now. Several clan elders, who had originally planned to use their seniority to advise Ding Wanping, all fell silent at the sight of this scene. At their advanced age, they had no desire to be publicly slapped and humiliated. Dead silence fell over the entire gathering. Ding Wanping fixed a sneering gaze on Fang Chen. See, no one dares advise me anymore. So Fang Chen, I trust you have prepared your last words. Fang Chen sighed, gazing at Ding Wanping with a hint of pity. With his earlier actions, Ding Wanping had managed to offend every single member of the Ding clan from top to bottom, completely severing his own last path of retreat. Do you truly believe they dare raise a hand against me? Fang Chen stared at him with an impassive expression. Daring not to advise you is one thing. Daring to strike to kill me is an entirely different matter. They are not as deranged as you are, Ding Wanping. Ding Wanping snorted coldly. Who dares to disobey my orders? He glowered at Ding Zuhui and commanded, You, bring me Fang Chen's head. Ding Zuhui's mouth twitched. This boy was truly lawless and reckless, but he would never gamble the lives of the entire Ding clan to satisfy Ding Wanping's momentary impulse. He forced an awkward laugh, clutched his chest, and said, Wanping, I was injured by the Beast King earlier. I am unfit to engage in combat. As expected, his order was ignored. Ding Wanping immediately felt his face had been thoroughly disgraced, so he turned his glare on Ding Changxiang. Ding Changxiang, you go. If you do not kill Fang Chen, I will expel you from the Ding clan. Murderous intent roiled in Ding Changxiang's eyes, but it was not directed at Fang Chen. Rather, it was aimed at Ding Wanping, who had dared to threaten him. Forcing down the urge to kill, he spoke with a face black as thunder. Fang Chen's speed is extraordinary. If he chooses to flee, I cannot catch up to him. This was no lie. When Fang Chen had previously slain multiple demonic beasts of the Foundation establishment realm in quick succession, he had displayed incredible speed, making this the perfect excuse to brush off the order. Ding Wanping had been repeatedly ignored when issuing orders, leaving him utterly humiliated and seething with rage. You mangy cur, you dare dismiss my words like wind past your ear. Crack! He snapped his hand out and landed a hard slap across Ding Changxiang's face, sending him staggering. This string of humiliations pushed Ding Changxiang over the edge completely. Ding Wanping, you goddamned bastard. Ding Changxiang was by nature a domineering, arrogant man, and he would never tolerate such shameful treatment. In that moment, he cast all restraint aside, raising his palm to strike Ding Wanping with reckless abandon. Just then, the sound of rapid footsteps approached. Qin Wenyuan rushed over at a breakneck pace, and the moment he spotted the scene from afar, he erupted in wrath. How dare you, Ding Changxiang, you dare treat Ding Wanping like this, right in front of Fang Chen? Do you not realize this is a slap to Fang Chen's face? The Ding clan is courting total destruction. Ding Changxiang's body trembled violently. The spiritual power he was about to unleash was yanked back abruptly, and his mind cleared in an instant. Ding Zuhui and the group of clan elders turned deathly pale. The very thing they had dreaded most had come to pass, and it was the worst possible outcome they could have imagined. Ding Zuhui rushed forward immediately, attempting to defuse Qin Wenyuan's rage. Master Qin, this is nothing more than a scuffle between the younger generation. Do not misunderstand. After speaking, he cast a pleading look at Ding Wanping, begging him to let the matter rest and not escalate the situation further. But Ding Wanping had no intention of letting this go. He retorted loudly, This is no mutual scuffle. Ding Changxiang was trying to kill me. The entire Ding clan does not respect me in the slightest, and they care even less for you, Master Qin. Trying to kill you, Qin Wenyuan could not help but shiver. It mattered little if they disrespected him, but slighting Fang Chen was a heaven-shaking offense. A faint look of anger crossed his aged face, and he huffed coldly. Clan leader Ding, do you look down on me for being new to Cloud Sun City, with no local influence and no longer wish to cooperate? If that is the case, clan leader Ding may speak plainly. There is no need to beat around the bush to make your point known. Sweat was already beading heavily on Ding Zuhui's forehead. This matter was indeed threatening to damage the cooperation between the two sides, and the faces of the Ding clan elders shifted repeatedly. A single sentence from Ding Wanping had nearly shattered their partnership entirely, and his importance in Master Qin's eyes was far higher than they had ever anticipated. Ding Changxiang's hands and feet turned ice cold, and he was racked with regret over his earlier impulsiveness. A single moment of rage had brought down a catastrophic disaster upon them all. Gritting his teeth, he walked voluntarily before Ding Wanping, bowed his head, and spoke through immense humiliation. I am sorry, Wanping. I should not have acted impulsively, and I should never have raised a hand against you. Please, for the sake of our shared clan blood, forgive me. As the pride of the Ding clan, the heavens-favored son of Cloud Sun City, and a peerless genius revered across all lands under the jurisdiction of the Azure Cloud Sect, Ding Changxiang had been stripped of nearly all his dignity in this moment. Yet Ding Wanping was far from satisfied. He bared his teeth in a cold sneer. Is an apology enough? You dared to commit the crime of offending a superior. Do you know what punishment you deserve? Kneel before me. Kneel. Ding Tianxiang's eyes flew wide open, and the humiliation in his heart reached its boiling point. He was a monstrous genius of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. How could he possibly accept kneeling before another person? But when he saw Qin Wenyuan's increasingly cold expression and his anxious clansmen, he ground his teeth to shards and dropped heavily to his knees, speaking loudly. I was wrong. I beg your forgiveness. A dead silence fell over the surroundings. The Ding clan members could not bear to look, turning their gazes away one after another, but rage like an erupting volcano seethed and roiled in their chests. No matter how wrong Ding Tianxiang had been, he was still one of their own. How could they trample on his dignity like this? Did Ding Wanping even consider himself a member of the Ding clan? Even if the Ding clan had not valued Ding Wanping highly, had they ever treated him poorly? Without the Ding clan raising and training him from childhood, would he have ever had the chance to receive an offer of recruitment from the Azure Cloud Sect? How could he repay kindness with such malice? Treating the Ding clan like this, only when he saw Ding Tianxiang kneeling before him did Ding Wanping's anger dissipate. He snorted through his nose. That is more like it. You will stay right there on your knees and reflect properly on your mistakes. Then he smiled and cupped his fist in salute to Master Qin. Thank you for backing me, Master Qin. Qin Wenyuan gave a small nod, saying no more. Now that the matter had concluded with Ding Tianxiang kneeling to apologize, there was no need to create extra complications. After all, the cooperation with the Ding clan still needed to proceed. He patted Ding Wanping on the shoulder, preparing to leave. If you have any issues in the future, come find me at any time. These words made every member of the Ding clan's body jolt. This was an unmistakable warning to the entire clan. He was personally protecting Ding Wanping, and if anything happened to him, Ding Wanping could summon Qin Wenyuan at any time. Ding Wanping was overjoyed in his heart. He swept his gaze across the Ding clan members with a cold sneer, and while Qin Wenyuan was still present, he intended to intimidate them into submitting to him completely. Master Qin, please wait a moment. There is another matter I need to handle, but the clan members are not being very cooperative. Ding Wanping shouted, I beg Master Qin to judge this matter for me. Oh, the expression on Qin Wenyuan's face, which had just lightened, darkened once more. What was the matter with the Ding clan? Did they really need him to spell it out for them? Fang Chen was a high-ranked great soul master, and Ding Wanping's friendship with him had tied the Ding clan to a towering, unshakable backing. Instead of fawning over Ding Wanping, they kept mistreating him. They were utterly ungrateful. Thus he huffed in cold anger. What is the matter? Speak. I would very much like to see what the Ding clan is plotting. I may even have to have a word with all of you to make sure you stop acting like complete fools. With Qin Wenyuan's public support, Ding Wanping felt even more secure. He huffed coldly. There is a man who stole my woman, has repeatedly humiliated me, and even slapped me just now. I only wanted to reason with him, but do you know what he did? He relied on a heretical cultivation method to injure me. What? Qin Wenyuan was aghast. Who dares be so insolent as to humiliate Ding Wanping right on the Ding clan's grounds? A slap is already bad enough, but to injure him too. If anything happens to him, my link to Fang Chen will be severed entirely. He silently rejoiced that he had stayed to handle the matter. Otherwise, he would have remained completely unaware that Ding Wanping had suffered such a grievous wrong. He erupted in fury and roared, Are all the members of the Ding clan dead? No one stepped forward to protect him. Ding Wanping wore a wounded, aggrieved look and spoke through gritted teeth. They didn't just refuse to protect me. I ordered them to kill this man, yet everyone from the clan leader down to the lowliest clansmen all spoke in that outsider's favor. Ding Tianxiang even turned on me entirely, trying to kill me to curry favor with him. Boom! Qin Wenyuan was so furious his lungs felt ready to burst. He slammed a palm against the stone table, shattering it to shards in an instant, and roared at the assembled Ding clan members. Preposterous! Is this how you treat someone I, Qin Wenyuan, intend to personally nurture and promote? The members of the Ding clan trembled with unbridled rage at this outrageous slander that twisted truth into lies. Ding Zhuhui hurriedly explained, Master Qin, it is not that we are siding with that outsider, but his status is far too extraordinary. We dare not move against him. Qin Wenyuan grew even angrier. They were still shielding that outsider even at this juncture. What status could possibly weigh more than the title of Fang Chen's close friend? Who was this person? He would see for himself what kind of sacred being dared to act so boldly. Ding Zhuhui's face twisted with awkwardness, a pleading look in his eyes. Master Qin, let this matter drop here. We cannot let this conflict escalate any further. How dared he let Fang Chen die in the Ding clan? If Qin Wenyuan fled the scene scot-free afterward, it would be the entire Ding clan that bore the full, devastating wrath of Qin sect. Qin Wenyuan's hair stood on end with rage. The more the Ding clan tried to cover up the matter, the more determined he was to uncover the true identity of this other party. At that moment, a soft, drifting voice sounded, one that made Qin Wenyuan's very soul shudder. "It is me, Master Qin. What instructions do you have for me?" That voice, Qin Wenyuan turned his neck stiffly, his old eyes fixed on Fang Chen in utter disbelief. He was dumbfounded. Could there be some mistake? The person Ding Wanping wanted killed was Fang Chen. While he was still reeling in confusion, Ding Wanping spoke with a face contorted with venom. "Master Qin, that's the bastard. I cannot eat or sleep in peace so long as he draws breath." It really was Fang Chen, but wasn't Ding Wanping supposed to be Fang Chen's good friend? It was precisely because of that supposed connection that he had thrown his full support behind Ding Wanping. How had they turned into mortal enemies now? Immediately after, Fang Chen's words laid the entire truth bare. "Master Qin, what misunderstanding could you possibly be under? Back when we were at Qin sect, Ding Wanping harassed my wife. He has opposed me multiple times since then, and even spoke viciously and tried to attack me when we arrived at the Qin clan." Qin Wenyuan's eyes nearly bulged out of his head in shock. They were never friends at all. Their relationship had always been terrible, but he had been misled by Ding Wanping into misunderstanding their bond, and had even thrown his full support behind the wretched man. What in the world was he doing, taking the side of Fang Chen's enemy? In that moment, he wished he could slap himself hard enough to end his own shame. Most people only flatter the wrong person and kick a steel plate, but he had gone and charged straight into his own fatal weakness. Ding Wanping, completely oblivious to the shift in mood, was still chattering on, sneering smugly. "Scared now, Fang Chen? Do you finally realize what kind of power you have offended? Let me tell you, with Master Qin backing me today, if you leave this place alive, I'll write my name backwards for the rest of my life." No sooner had the words left his mouth than a brutal slap cracked hard across his face, followed by a thunderous roar in his ears. "I'll be your fucking master." Qin Wenyuan, who had always carried himself with impeccable, calm decorum, could no longer hold back and spewed vulgar abuse. That single slap stunned everyone present. The Ding clan members stared in blank bewilderment. What was happening? Wasn't Qin Wenyuan fully supporting Ding Wanping just moments ago? Ding Wanping was also stunned senseless. He pressed a hand to his stinging, burning cheek, staring at the furious old face inches from his own, wondering if he was caught in a hallucination. He stammered, "Master Qin, why did you hit me? You should be hitting that cursed bastard Fang Chen." He was still insulting Fang Chen. Qin Wenyuan was beside himself with rage, and slammed another heavy, ringing slap across his face. "You vile beast. You are the only vile beast I would ever strike." He had actually taken the side of this wretched thing, and with his backing, the man had even planned to kill Fang Chen. The more he thought about it, the angrier he grew, until he was consumed by unbridled fury. Ignoring his old, fragile bones, he rained punches and kicks down on Ding Wanping, only stopping when his fists trembled and he was gasping for breath, too exhausted to continue. But the rage in his heart still had not abated. He pointed a finger straight at Ding Wanping's nose and roared, "I must be blind to have ever suggested you be made the young master of the Ding clan. What right do you have to such a title?" Immediately after, he turned his fury on Ding Zuhui. "Your Ding clan has raised such a heartless, unfilial beast, and you still expect me to cooperate with you. From this moment onward, I sever all ties with your Ding clan. We will have nothing to do with each other ever again." These words were of course also meant for Fang Chen to hear, to make it clear that he was cutting all connections with Ding Wanping entirely. As soon as he finished speaking, he flicked his wide sleeve and stormed off furiously. Having made such an absurd fool of himself, he had no face to stay any longer in Fang Chen's presence. Ding Wanping stared blankly for a long while before he suddenly realized what had happened. He had been abandoned by Master Qin. Did that mean he had no backing left at all? Panic seized his heart. He scrambled over on his knees and wrapped his arms tightly around Qin Wenyuan's leg. "Master Qin, I was wrong. Please don't abandon me. I'll do anything you say. I'll be your son, your grandson. Just please don't abandon me." The only response he got was a cold, unforgiving snort from Qin Wenyuan, who kicked him flying several feet away before vanishing at the entrance to the courtyard. Ding Wanping was utterly panicked, his mind blank and all sense of direction gone. He had no idea what had just happened. One moment Master Qin had been shielding him, the next he had flown into a towering rage and cast him aside. The turn of events had been far too sudden and abrupt. He was jolted back to his senses by an ice-cold, cutting voice. Ding Tianxiang, who was still kneeling on the ground, wore a cold, sharp smile as he said grimly, "Honored young Master Ding, May I ask how much longer this lowly one has to kneel here? Ding Wanping's heart skipped a beat. He thought back to how arrogantly he had carried himself just a short while ago, and his heart trembled violently. He hurried forward to help Ding Tianlong up, his lips trembling as he spoke. Big brother, you are the rightful young master of the Ding clan. I'm just a lowly concubine's son, nothing more. Murderous intent churned violently in Ding Tianlong's eyes. He patted Ding Wanping's face mockingly, every word forced out through gritted teeth. No, no, no. When you were the young master of the Ding clan, you were 100 times, 10,000 times more impressive and awe-inspiring than I ever was. The members of the Ding clan came to their senses one after another, and all gazes fixed on Ding Wanping turned hostile in unison. Ding Zuhui's voice was low and heavy, like the roiling storm before a catastrophic downpour, weighing oppressively on every heart. Even Master Qin could not abide your despicable character and kicked you away in disgust. He spoke the truth. How did the Ding clan raise a degenerate beast like you, lower than swine and hounds? A wisp of killing intent churned in his eyes as he recalled Ding Wanping's lawless, reckless conduct. He lifted his eyes to look at Fang Chen and Chen Xiling and bowed slightly with folded hands. You two, please return to the Azure Cloud Sect to report on your mission. Ding Wanping will not accompany you back. Kindly convey my message to your esteemed sect. Ding Wanping will never return to the sect again. No one needed to guess what would unfold next. Fang Chen nodded and turned to leave. A flicker of reluctance flashed across Chen Xiling's eyes, but when she recalled Ding Wanping's prior madness, every trace of pity in her gaze faded away entirely. Both she and Fang Chen had given Ding Wanping chances, but he had squandered them all with his repeated foolish antics, burning every last bridge of retreat for himself. Ding Wanping, who had likewise sensed that a great calamity was imminent, was so terrified his liver and gallbladder nearly shattered. He dropped to his knees at once before Fang Chen and Chen Xiling, wailing as he cried out, Junior brother Fang, junior sister Chen, you cannot leave. I beg you, take me back to the sect with you. I cannot stay here. I will die. Smack, Ding Zuhui stomped mercilessly on the back of his skull, slamming his head hard into the ground and knocking him unconscious. He then looked at Fang Chen with a completely impassive expression and said, the Ding clan will now handle internal clan affairs. You two are free to leave. Fang Chen said nothing further and departed the Ding estate with Chen Xiling. No sooner had they left than blood-curdling, agonized screams rang out from within the estate, sending a sharp jolt through the heart of anyone who heard them. It was clear that even a quick death would be too merciful for Ding Wanping. Living a fate worse than death was his only destined end. The two mounted a flying spirit beast and soared to the skies above the Lin clan, one of the three great martial aristocratic families. After a moment of thought, Fang Chen cut off half a piece of Beast King Essence meat and tossed it down. Moments later, the shocked, overjoyed cry of an elderly man burst forth from the Lin residence. Beast King Essence meat. It is actually Beast King Essence meat. I now have hope of breaking through to the peak of the 9th layer of the Foundation establishment realm. Elsewhere, Qin Wenyuan, who had once again been forced to relocate his entire clan, wore a face full of frustration. Qin Chengsheng at his side also had a long, dejected face. Old patriarch, where do we go now? The corner of Qin Wenyuan's mouth twitched as he replied, the further the better. I refuse to believe we can run into Master Fang yet again. Several days later, at the Azure Cloud Sect, all teams dispatched to the various cities had long since returned. Fang Chen and Chen Xiling were the last two to arrive. The crowd of cultivators gathered in the square erupted into commotion the moment they spotted him. Didn't the disciples returning from Cloud Yong City say Fang Chen was being hunted by a beast king? We all thought he was dead. What incredible fortune he has to survive such a deadly predicament. In the crowd, Liu Ruyan's ears twitched. She abruptly lifted her beautiful eyes to look at Fang Chen, and the moment she confirmed he was alive, a bright glimmer burst forth in her previously dull, grey eyes. But when she noticed Chen Xiling leaning close to his side, that light immediately shifted into a complex, unreadable glint. She spoke in a sharp, sarcastic tone. How many demonic beasts did you have to slaughter to come back this late? Fang Chen was speechless. When had he ever offended her? The group soon entered the Azure Cloud Sect. Still the same spoiled young lady temper. Not bad, I suppose, Fang Chen remarked casually. He had no idea how many demonic beasts the other teams had hunted, nor what ranks those beasts were, so he could not tell if his own results were better or worse compared to the rest. Sensing that Fang Chen lacked confidence, Liu Ruyan breathed a quiet sigh of relief. She had truly been worried that Fang Chen would get lucky and kill more demonic beasts than Tang Tianlong. If that happened, she would end up being completely outshone by Chen Xiling. Is that so? A faint look of smugness crossed Liu Ruyan's face as she spoke. Our team did quite well too. We killed 5 demonic beasts in Lone Boat City, 4 of which were at the Foundation Establishment realm and 1 at the Kai Condensation realm. By the sect's rules, that is worth 41 merit points. At those words, the surrounding disciples cast envious gazes their way. It was to be expected of Tang Tianlong. Surely all the demonic beasts that attacked Lone Boat City had been slain by him alone. That went without saying. The other team members would need sufficient strength first if they wanted to steal kills from him. 41 merit points was without a doubt the highest score of this entire operation. Calculated by the rule that 1 merit point allowed one to cultivate in the sacred temple for 1 hour, Tang Tianlong would be able to cultivate there for 3 to 4 full days. With the abundant, dense spiritual resources of the sacred temple, that would be more than enough for his cultivation at the 8th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm to progress significantly. A strange look crossed Fang Chen's face. 41 merit points was the highest score. Excluding the Beast King, he had killed 8 Foundation Establishment realm demonic beasts all by himself, which converted to a full 80 merit points. Were demonic beasts really that difficult to kill? Fang Chen quickly realized the reason. The demonic beasts attacking Cloud Yong City were generally far stronger. The other members of his team had no ability to fight them at all, and could only watch helplessly as Fang Chen and Ding Wanping competed for the kills. Meanwhile, the demonic beasts attacking the other cities were relatively weaker, so all disciples could participate in the hunt, leading to relatively even harvests. Only Fang Chen and Tang Tianlong had exceptionally outstanding results. Upon hearing this, Tang Tianlong walked over, a faint sneer curling at the corner of his mouth. Ruyan, I've told you before, do not compare him to me. That is an insult to my standing. Liu Ruyan immediately apologized. I am sorry, senior brother Tang. Tang Tianlong waved a hand dismissively and said, I once said that even being my teammate would bring more benefits than being the woman of a useless waste. I always keep my word and never go back on my promises. It seems that prediction is about to come true now. Many beautiful, talented female disciples cast envious looks at Liu Ruyan. She truly had incredible luck. With senior brother Tang leading her, she would also have the honor of entering the sacred temple for deep cultivation this time. Once she came out, her cultivation would definitely advance by leaps and bounds. I actually feel sorry for Chen Xiling. Her figure, looks, and martial talent are no worse than Liu Ruyan's, but because she followed the wrong man, the benefits she gets are as far apart as heaven and earth. The path is her own choice, and the man is her own pick. She has no one to blame but herself. Chen Xiling, who was the only one besides Fang Chen who knew his true harvest, was holding back a belly full of fury. You dare question my taste in men, I will make all of your jaws drop in shock soon enough, and let you see just how unmatched the man I chose is, leaving all of you far in the dust. A short while later, Liu Wenchen arrived riding a flying spirit beast. I take it everyone has returned. Liu Wenchen glanced briefly across the crowd and relaxed when he spotted his disciple Fang Chen among them. He had been worried that Fang Chen would die outside. After all, his cultivation was still very low, and Liu Wenchen had not given him many resources to begin with. Very well, let us begin counting your respective harvests. Disciples who have obtained spoils of war, come forward one by one. The deacons of the Merit and Punishment Hall will inspect your gains and register your merit points. The disciples were all brimming with eagerness. The thought of getting to experience cultivating in the sacred temple where the Grand Elders practiced filled every one of them with excitement. Thus, even disciples who had only killed a single Kai Condensation realm demonic beast stepped forward to register very enthusiastically. Just as Fang Chen had predicted, almost everyone's harvest was roughly the same. The few more powerful disciples had managed to kill 2 Foundation Establishment realm demonic beasts, but the vast majority only had 1 Foundation Establishment realm beast, or even just a single Kai Condensation realm beast as their harvest. When it was Tang Tianlong's turn to register, the deacon of the Merit and Punishment Hall nodded in approval. His harvest of 5 demonic beasts was indeed exceptionally impressive. After him, there were no more notable harvests to speak of. That was until Fang Chen set a small pouch down in front of the Merit and Punishment Hall deacon. The deacon opened the pouch habitually, glanced casually inside, and spoke, 1 demonic core. Wait a moment, he fixed his gaze on the contents again and froze in shock. The small pouch held a full 8 demonic cores, each as large as a chicken egg, every single one from a Foundation Establishment realm demonic beast. How is this possible? He took out the items and inspected each one individually, confirming that they were genuine demonic cores, with fresh residual demonic beast blood clinging to their surfaces. They could never have been purchased from the cultivation market. He stared at Fang Chen in shock, his face twisted with utter disbelief. The deacon's bizarre behavior roused the curiosity of everyone present. Liu Ruyan frowned and said, "What is wrong with the reward and punishment hall deacon? He looks extremely odd." Tang Tianlong scoffed with his hands clasped behind his back. He is probably astonished that Fang Chen actually managed to gain something from the trial. Liu Ruyan nodded in understanding, shaking her head slightly as she said, "With his meager strength, it is already a blessing from the heavens that he returned alive. Who would have thought his luck is so remarkable that he even made tangible gains? If I were the deacon, I would be even more stunned than he is." Not far away, Liu Wenchen also noticed the deacon's oddity and urged impatiently, "What are you hesitating for? Complete the registration as soon as possible and finalize the rankings." He seemed to be in a rather foul mood. The deacon snapped back to his senses in a hurry, not daring to delay any further. He immediately registered Fang Chen's gains, then crossed out Tang Tianlong's name from the top of the ranking and replaced it with Fang Chen's. Moments later, he handed the finalized ranking list to Liu Wenchen. Liu Wenchen did not spare it much glance, stood up and swept his majestic gaze across the 100 disciples, saying, "That all of you can return safe and sound is the greatest comfort to this sect. Master, now I shall announce your results. The following disciples have slain Kai Condensation, Realm Demonic Beasts. The following disciples have slain Foundation, Establishment, Realm Demonic Beasts. Next are the top 10 disciples in the official ranking." At these words, all the disciples perked up with excitement. The results of those ranked outside the top 10 were roughly identical. Only when it came to the top 10 would there be significant, game-changing shifts. 10th place, Huang Yunkang, 1 Foundation Establishment, Realm Demonic Beast, 1 Kai Condensation, Realm Demonic Beast. 9th place, Zheng Xiaoyan, 1 Foundation Establishment, Realm Demonic Beast, 2 Kai Condensation, Realm Demonic Beasts. 8th place, Liu Peixiang, 1 Foundation Establishment, Realm Demonic Beast, 3 Kai Condensation, Realm Demonic Beasts. 3rd place, Yuan Tongshan, Disciple of Carefree Peak, 2 Foundation Establishment, Realm Demonic Beasts, 3 Kai Condensation, Realm Demonic Beasts. Carefree Peak has performed excellently this time, Liu Wenchen praised publicly, but he could not help sighing inwardly. If his own peak had drawn any other disciple instead of Fang Chen this time, they would not have failed to even make it onto the ranking list. Everyone immediately sat up straight, their faces brimming with curiosity. Who was second? Apart from Tang Tianlong, no one had heard of anyone having more gains than Yuan Tongshan, right? This person had hidden themselves so masterfully, no one knew they had made such a massive haul. Liu Ruyan also looked curious and asked, "Senior brother Tang, who do you think the second place will be?" Tang Tianlong had both hands behind his back and commented arrogantly, "Among all the disciples this time, the only one likely to have slain more than 2 Foundation Establishment, Realm Demonic Beasts is Mo Huandao of Mad Blade Peak. He is at the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm. His cultivation is not far behind mine." Liu Ruyan looked impressed. Senior brother Mo is indeed extremely formidable. Tang Tianlong smiled haughtily. "He is indeed very powerful, but with me here, he can only settle for 2nd place. Yes. At that moment, Liu Wenchen looked at the 2nd place entry and froze. He frowned and read out hesitantly, 2nd place, Tang Tianlong. The entire audience erupted in an uproar. Everyone looked at each other in confusion, their faces filled with shock. 2nd place, Tang Tianlong. Did they get the ranking wrong? 4 Foundation Establishment, Realm Demonic Beasts, and 1 Kai Condensation, Realm Demonic Beasts. Distant that guaranteed 1st place. Why is he ranked 2nd? The smile on Tang Tianlong's face froze solid. This sudden ranking left him dumbfounded. How had he ended up in 2nd place? Could someone have more gains than him? That was impossible, right? Liu Ruyan also looked stunned. What is going on? How could senior brother Tang be 2nd place? There must be some mistake somewhere, right? It was not just the disciples. Even the elders standing at the side wore looks of disbelief. In their eyes, Tang Tianlong's gains were already extremely astonishing, far exceeding their expectations. Yet such a remarkable result was only enough for 2nd place. Tang Tianlong's master, Great Elder Feng Chen, questioned sharply on the spot, "Reward and punishment hall deacon, how dare you get my disciples ranking wrong? My disciple has the highest cultivation among all who took part in this mission. How could anyone have more gains than him? Are your old eyes failing you that you mixed up the rankings?" The reward and punishment hall deacon jumped in fright. He did not dare provoke the Great Elder and quickly stood up, cupping his fists in salute as he said, Great Elder, this subordinate did not make a mistake in the ranking. There is indeed a disciple whose gains far exceed Tang Tianlong's. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was struck dumb with shock. There really was someone with higher gains than Tang Tianlong. How was that possible? 4 Foundation Establishment Realm Demonic Beasts plus 1 Kai Condensation Realm. Unless there was a team that had someone as far stronger than the rest as Tang Tianlong was, such a huge gap would be impossible, but looking at all the other teams, that was simply out of the question. Tang Tianlong could not accept this humiliating blow. As the participant with the highest cultivation, to be trampled underfoot and forced into second place was an unforgivable insult to him. He said loudly, "Sectmaster, who is the first place, please announce it, so that I may be convinced. I want to see who it is, and how much they gained, to actually be ranked above me." Liu Wenchen snapped back to his senses. He had also initially suspected that the Reward and Punishment Hall Deacon had made a mistake in the ranking. His gaze moved down the ranking list, and when it landed on the first place entry, he froze, once again suspecting the Deacon had messed up. He could have understood if first place was anyone else, but how could it be Fang Chen, that useless, good, for-nothing disciple of his? He looked again at the number of gains. All of them were Foundation Establishment Realm. What is more, the Reward and Punishment Hall Deacon had even made a separate note that all were late, Stage Foundation Establishment Realm Great Demonic Beasts. What could his useless disciple have used to slay so many late, Stage Foundation Establishment Great Demonic Beasts? Bite them to death one by one with his mouth. It's wrong, it must be wrong. He stared fixedly at the first place entry, unsure if he should read it out. This ranking was so obviously fake that announcing it would cause a cataclysmic uproar, wouldn't it? Fang Chen, who had long grown impatient, wore a faint gloomy expression. "Sectmaster, why have you not yet announced the results? Could the first place be fraudulent?" He could not help but suspect that Liu Wenchen was falsifying the results, deliberately suppressing Tang Tianlong as the latter was poised to claim first place and bring glory to Samsara Peak. The other elders also cast curious gazes over. They urged in unison, "Sectmaster, read it out quickly. Let us see which Peak's outstanding disciple has claimed the top spot." The disciples were equally filled with curiosity, racking their brains but unable to guess who this person could be. Liu Wenchen shot Fang Chen a sidelong glance. Did he truly think everyone was as fond of underhanded tactics as the Grand Elder? However, if he spoke Fang Chen's name aloud, he feared even if he swore he had not falsified the results, no one would believe him. After a moment of contemplation, he put away the name list and said, "There is no need to announce the first place. I will speak to him privately in detail afterwards." As he spoke, he darted a glance at Fang Chen, giving him a stern look. Though he did not know why the Reward and Punishment Hall Deacon had listed Fang Chen as first place, it was undoubtedly tied to Fang Chen himself. The incident had nearly made him bear the reputation of cheating and tarnished the immaculate reputation of the sect master, so the boy deserved a thorough lesson. How could the rest of the crowd accept his decision to withhold the announcement? Fang Chen grew even more convinced the results were fake, and laughed coldly in anger. "Sectmaster, I can understand your anxiety about Samsara Peak surpassing the Sectmaster Peak, but is such blatant suppression not going too far?" Tang Tianlong finally realized that he had been placed second, not due to insufficient strength, but because of the struggle between the two peaks. His face twisted with humiliation, and he said bitterly, "Sectmaster, I've always admired you for your upright, magnanimous, and impartial conduct, but I never expected you to care so much about the standings between the two peaks that you would go so far as to suppress me. If my performance has embarrassed you, I will simply accept this second place." The master and disciple played good cop and bad cop, painting Liu Wenchen as an out and out petty villain. This left Liu Wenchen furious, feeling as if he had been placed on a pyre to be roasted alive. If he did not announce the results, he would be accused of suppressing Samsara Peak. If he did, the charge of cheating would be confirmed beyond doubt. Just as all the disciples present were growing disgruntled. Fang Chen also wore a look of dissatisfaction. What nonsense was this? He had earned first place fair and square, so why was it not being announced? And a private talk afterwards, did that mean his results would be invalidated? Then all the demonic beasts he had painstakingly hunted were for nothing. Thus he cupped his fists in salute and said, "Master, please announce the results to silence the mouths of the masses." Hearing Fang Chen also urging him, Liu Wenchen grew even angrier. "You created this mess, and you still have the audacity to add fuel to the fire. Once the results are announced, Fang Chen will become the target of public criticism, facing doubt from everyone. At that time, no matter how clever his cheating method was, it would be exposed, and Fang Chen would be the one humiliated." "Master, please announce it. Fang Chen said again. Liu Wenchen flew into a rage. If you are courting death yourself, do not blame your master for not covering for you. Without further hesitation, he took out the name list again and announced publicly, first place goes to. The boiling scene fell abruptly silent. Everyone pricked up their ears, all desperate to know who the sect master had arranged to suppress Tang Tianlong. They speculated about possible candidates in their hearts, one after another. First, this person definitely could not be from Samsara Peak. Second, their strength had to be passable, not too much weaker than Tang Tianlong, otherwise it would not silence everyone's doubts. Tang Tianlong crossed his arms over his chest, listening with a cold face. No matter who this person was, he would never accept the result. He would definitely personally inspect their spoils of war and expose their cheating in public. Anyone who tried to steal his first place was dreaming. Fang Chen snorted disdainfully through his nostrils, scanning the surroundings coldly. He wanted to see which Peak's disciple was so foolhardy as to cooperate with the sect master to suppress Samsara Peak. He would make sure the boy was shamed beyond measure later. At the same time, Liu Wenchen took a deep breath and finally spoke the name of the first place winner, Fang Chen. The entire venue fell dead silent for a moment, before erupting in an uproar far louder than any before. Who is first? Fang Chen, that spirit rootless disciple. He can slay 8 Foundation, Establishment, Realm demonic beasts. This joke has gone too far. No one had expected the first place to be Fang Chen, whom no one had paid any mind to. After all, before they departed on the trial, Liu Wenchen had not even given him any resources. For him to return unharmed was already impressive enough. How could he possibly have slain 8 Foundation, Establishment, Realm demonic beasts? Even the unrelated disciples had so many doubts. One could well imagine what Tang Tianlong was thinking. Upon learning that first place was Fang Chen, he was stunned for a long time, before throwing his head back and laughing wildly. Ha ha ha, Fang Chen. It's actually Fang Chen. I, Tang Tianlong, am inferior to Fang Chen. Ha ha ha. His laughter boomed over the entire venue, and everyone could hear the suppressed fury in it. If it had been anyone else, he might have let it go, but it had to be Fang Chen, the trash he did not even deign to compare himself to, placed above him. What sort of insult was this? Fang Chen was also stunned for a moment before flying into a towering rage. Liu Wenchen, no wonder you hid the results. You gave first place to your own disciple. I can accept if you want to suppress Samsara Peak, but you could have at least picked a decent disciple. Letting a spirit rootless waste sit above my apprentice. Do you think anyone will believe this? The various elders also wore speechless expressions. Even when Hongyao could not help muttering, Sect Master Liu is being too reckless. The boy Fang is quite skilled at pill refining, but his martial strength is far too weak to hold the top spot. Spoils of war. Is this not deliberately humiliating Fang Chen? Amidst the sea of skeptical shouts from all around, Liu Wenchen's head was throbbing from the endless accusations, and he snapped irritably. I wasn't the one who arranged for Fang Chen to take first place. He achieved that rank on his own. Liu Wenchen had not arranged the ranking. The crowd turned to gape at Fang Chen in stunned disbelief. Was he truly so bold as to openly cheat to claim first place? Even if he intended to cheat, he ought to have at least made the rank align with his actual strength. To place himself above Tang Tianlong, just how naive did he have to be to think no one would doubt him? A number of somewhat attractive female disciples stared at the stunningly beautiful Chen Xiling, their words dripping with sarcasm. Becoming the concubine of such a useless fool who can't even cheat properly. What was she thinking? She's wasted that heavenly, peerless beauty. So gorgeous, yet her eyesight is tragically poor. Chen Xiling bit her lower lip gently. No matter how much she tried to explain, the roaring waves of condemnation drowned out her voice entirely, leaving her no chance to defend herself. Her face flushed deep purple with shame and fury. Fang Chen's brows furrowed slightly. He cared nothing for the insults directed at him, but dragging Chen Xiling into this was something he would never abide. He slipped one arm around Chen Xiling's waist, pulling her protectively into his embrace as he gazed down imperiously at the surrounding crowd. Even if I did cheat, that only proves I have the capability to bribe the reward and punishment hall deacon to falsify the ranking in full view of the public. Which of you can do that? If none of you are capable of it, then all of you hold your tongues. Those domineering words shook the entire surroundings, and the previously chaotic, roaring grounds fell dead silent in an instant. Many female disciples gritted their teeth in rage, but had no way to refute him, for Fang Chen spoke the truth. To force a reward and punishment hall deacon to cheat in front of the sect master, all elders, and countless disciples would require an unimaginable level of power and connections. Within the crowd, Liu Ruyan clenched her dainty fists so tight her knuckles turned white. Watching Chen Xiling held safely in Fang Chen's arms as he stood against the entire sect alone, the jealousy in her heart reached a fever pitch, and she could not help crying out, "Your words sound grand, but cheating is still cheating. What right do you have to be ranked above Tang Tianlong?" Fang Chen glanced at her coldly and indifferently. "By right of having harvested more trial spoils than him, is there a problem?" At those words, Tang Tianlong laughed out loud in rage. Fang Chen, you are condemned by all, reviled by everyone, and you still dare to quibble. Do you think you can muddle your way out of this today? Let me tell you, that is impossible. He strode over to the reward and punishment hall deacon, scanned the area, and immediately spotted the pouch that Fang Chen had submitted earlier. He snatched it up, held it high in the air, and sneered. "All the evidence of your cheating is right here in this pouch. Do you still intend to quibble?" He had expected Fang Chen to be deterred by this move, but the latter merely retained his calm, unruffled gaze. "I have a clear conscience. What need have I to quibble?" Still putting on a stubborn front at a time like this, Tang Tianlong snarled with a furious laugh, yanking open the drawstring of the pouch. He announced in a loud, clear voice, "Fine, since you are not afraid of disgracing yourself, I shall grant your wish. Let the sect master, all the elders, and every disciple here see just how ugly the true face of this sect master peak disciple is." Fang Chen naturally did not miss this opportunity to take advantage of the situation and deal a heavy blow to Liu Wenchen. He said coldly, "All of you, look closely. Look at what our esteemed sect master's prized disciple used to fool all of us." Liu Wenchen could not help but rub his face, casting a furious glare at Fang Chen. Was this brat determined to humiliate him and drag the entire reputation of Sect Master Peak through the mud? As Tang Tianlong flipped his wrist, he turned the pouch completely upside down. Round, smooth objects poured out of it one after another, clattering against the ground with clear, ringing chimes. Tang Tianlong did not even glance down and sneered. "You all see that? This is the doing of our great Sect Master Peak disciple, passing off stones as demon cores. He actually dared to do such a thing, ha ha ha." His laughter quickly died in his throat. For as the contents of the pouch hit the ground, every single person present had their face twist in shock. Liu Wenchen's eyes bulged almost out of his head, Liu Ruyan's pretty eyes were wide as saucers, and all the surrounding disciples wore frozen, stunned expressions. The pretty female disciples all clapped their hands over their mouths, letting out muffled gasps of shock. Even Fang Chen, Tang Tianlong's own master, had his old face gone stiff, staring blankly at the items strewn across the ground. Tang Tianlong was taken aback and muttered, "What's wrong with all of you?" He followed the crowd's gaze, glancing down automatically at the items on the ground. He had assumed they were just lowly stones passed off as fakes, but instead, the ground was covered in colorful, egg-sized round beads, each thrumming with abundant demonic chi. What else could they be but freshly harvested demon cores? Demon cores? Tang Tianlong's mind went completely blank. The items Fang Chen had brought back were genuinely demon cores, 8 whole demon cores, no less. The reward and punishment hall deacon had not cheated, and Fang Chen had not cheated either. He truly was the rightful first place. The entire grounds fell as silent as a graveyard. All the earlier cries of doubt now felt like resounding, stinging slaps, crashing across every one of their faces. The reward and punishment hall deacon finally got the chance to speak, and he let out a helpless, bitter laugh. "Even if you gave me 100 times the courage, I would never dare help a low rank disciple deceive the sect master and all the elders. How much of a benefit would he have to offer me for me to take such an insane risk?" The crowd snapped back to their senses, their expressions awkward and sheepish. Fang Chen, who had been shouting the loudest earlier, immediately fell silent, not daring to utter a single word. As for Tang Tianlong, who had made the accusation, his face was bright red with shame. It turned out Fang Chen had not cheated at all. He had truly earned a rank above him. Thinking of all his arrogant boasts earlier, he wanted nothing more than to dig a hole in the ground and hide. He had humiliated himself terribly today, but he still could not accept the fact that he was inferior to Fang Chen, and snapped unwillingly. Who knows where these demon cores even came from? "It's entirely possible you bought them somewhere. They are definitely not the inner cores of the demonic beasts we were assigned to hunt for this trial." These words gave many of the embarrassed disciples an easy way to soothe their own pride. "That's right, it only means Fang Chen used a more secretive cheating method. It's not that he didn't cheat. We just can't prove it yet." At those words, Fang Chen laughed out loud. This bunch was so stubborn they would die before admitting they were wrong. Fortunately, he had kept an ace up his sleeve. He strode over to the reward and punishment hall deacon, slammed a fist-sized, enormous demon core down on the table in front of him, and announced in a loud, clear voice, "Deacon, please tell everyone what this is." The reward and punishment hall deacon was taken aback, staring at the abnormally large demon core. He could not recognize it at first, but after examining it closely, his eyes flew wide open, and he cried out in shock, This is a Beast King Demon Core. It is a Beast King Demon Core, by the heavens, you slew the Beast King of 100 Beast Mountain. The enormous plaza erupted into deafening, endless clamor in an instant. It was fortunate the grounds were open air. If this had been inside a building, the roaring din would have torn the roof clean off. Someone cried out in shock, Isn't the Beast King at the Golden Core realm? He actually slew a Golden Core Beast King. There is only one Beast King from 100 Beast Mountain within the borders of our Qin Wenyuan sect, which confirms that the demonic beasts Fang Chen killed earlier were indeed from 100 Beast Mountain. He had not cheated, he truly had slain that many demonic beasts. All those who had doubted him fell silent instantly. Ordinary demon cores could be bought, but where in the world could one procure a Beast King's demon core? Tang Tianlong's face twisted with rage. He had intended to invalidate Fang Chen's first place rank, but who would have thought he would instead confirm it beyond all shadow of doubt. Watching his most beloved disciple suffer such humiliation, Fang Chen roared in fury, Sect Master, since you knew Fang Chen was first place, why did you hide it earlier, if you had not done so? How would Tang Tianlong have raised such doubts, only to be utterly shamed in the end? The corner of Liu Wenqin's mouth twitched. You ask me, who do I ask? He was more bewildered than anyone else. This disciple he had disliked no matter how he looked at him, had actually achieved such shocking feats. Who could he complain to? However, in front of the entire sect, he naturally could not reveal his true feelings. He coughed dryly and said, I was merely afraid of discouraging your disciple Tang Tianlong, who knew your disciple would insist on digging to the bottom of the matter. Now that he has ended up embarrassed, you can hardly blame this sect master. Fang Chen gritted his teeth so hard they nearly cracked. This was entirely a humiliation their master and disciple had brought upon themselves. Not only had they lost their own prestige, they had also made the sect master peak steal the entire show. As if things were not bad enough, Fang Chen had no intention of letting the matter rest. He stood with his hands behind his back, gazing at Tang Tianlong, and said, Do you have any more doubts? These words fell on the ears of the second-ranked Tang Tianlong, and were nothing short of a knife twisted in his heart, making the corners of all onlookers' mouths twitch violently. Tang Tianlong was indeed enraged. Roaring in overwhelming shame and humiliation, he shouted, So what if you have more kills than me? That only gets you a little more time to cultivate in the holy temple. You are useless trash. Without a spirit root, no matter how long you cultivate, it is completely meaningless. Fang Chen shrugged. Even if I cannot cultivate, can I not use the time to bless my 2 wives? He waved at Liu Ruxu, who was watching from the crowd. Under the gaze of all present, she shyly ran up to Fang Chen and complained softly, You and Xiling could just go. Why did you have to drag me along, with so many people watching? How embarrassing. Fang Chen pulled her into his embrace as well, and said with a laugh, This way, all those who have been jealous of you and slandered you on ordinary days can see clearly for themselves whether the husband you chose was the wrong one. At these words, Liu Ruxu's eyes lit up slightly, and she unconsciously lifted her snow-white neck a little. She was so beautiful, and her spirit root was exceptionally high, yet her fiancé was the famously rootless Fang Chen. How could there be no gossip? There were countless jealous people who attacked her for being blind. She had never argued back in the past, because Fang Chen truly had no spirit root, and she had no way to refute it. But today, she could finally hold her head high with pride. Who would dare say her fiancé was useless, or that she had poor judgment from now on? Watching Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling both bask in glory alongside Fang Chen, Liu Ruyan felt an unbearable ache in her heart. She bit her red lips slightly with her shell-like teeth, staring fixedly at the two of them without saying a word. Tang Tianlong, who noticed her expression, felt his face burn even more with shame. Before they had departed, he had boasted loudly of all the great things he would achieve. But in the end, he had made Liu Ruyan look inferior by comparison. He shouted loudly, Do you think entering the holy temple means you can rest easy? Cultivation requires guidance from a skilled teacher. You are a useless waste with no spirit root. How could you possibly guide the two of them? Then he turned to Liu Ruyan and said, Junior sister Liu, this senior brother will personally guide your cultivation. I guarantee that 1 day of cultivating under me will be worth 10 days of their time in the holy temple. A bright light flashed across Liu Ruyan's eyes. That was right. The outcome was still undecided. Tang Tianlong was an incomparably gifted genius. If he personally guided her cultivation, how could her progress be worse than those two? Hearing this, the crowd finally came back to their senses. That was right. What was the point of being first place? Merit points were ultimately used for cultivation in the holy temple. No matter how many merit points Fang Chen had, could he guide his 2 wives. Liu Ruyan was the truly fortunate one. Even if, when split evenly, she only got 1.5 days of cultivation in the Holy Temple, I would bet her gains will definitely be far greater than those of Fang Chen's 2 wives. Liu Wenchen, who had just gained the upper hand over the Grand Elder and had not even had time to celebrate for long, sighed deeply in his heart upon hearing this. Fang Chen entering the Holy Temple is a pure waste of merit points. After thinking for a moment, he spoke. Fang Chen, if you do not mind, I will have Wang Chengjian enter the Holy Temple in your place to guide the 2 of them. This way, not only will no merit points be wasted, your 2 wives will also receive proper guidance. But he did not realize that this was a personal grudge between Fang Chen and Tang Tianlong, as well as between Liu Ruyan and the 2 girls. Fang Chen had to go no matter what. Fang Chen said, Master, I have recently gained some insights into the martial path, and I wish to take this opportunity to share them with my 2 fiancées. I must respectfully decline your offer. Having his offer rejected, Liu Wenchen's eyebrows shot up, but remembering how Fang Chen had just earned him a huge amount of face, he suppressed his displeasure and nodded, then arrange it as you see fit. Anyway, after the Holy Temple cultivation period ends, if your wives end up worse than the others, the one who loses face is Fang Chen, not me. Tang Tianlong laughed coldly and said, Fang Chen, perhaps you should listen to the sect master's arrangement and let someone else guide your wives. At the very least, they won't lose too badly. Fang Chen glanced at him and subtly shook the full sack of demon cores in his hand, making them clink loudly. Tang Tianlong's face darkened. It's just a lucky haul, that's all. We will settle this in the Holy Temple. Fang Chen smiled. His total kills were worth 180 merit points. Split evenly between the 3 of them, each would get 5 days of solo cultivation time in the Holy Temple, enough for all 3 to raise their realms. How much they would improve, however, would depend on just how miraculous the Holy Temple truly was. At that moment, Lai Qingfeng, the Elder of Heavenly Sword Peak, called out Fang Chen, and walked over with a troubled expression on his face. Although Lai Qingfeng had not thought highly of him in the past, and had always disparaged him for gaining cultivation by burning through his own potential, he had always treated Chen Xiling and Liu Ruxu well, so Fang Chen maintained the proper courtesy and said, Greetings, Elder Lai. Lai Qingfeng asked hesitantly, Why is my disciple Ding Wanping not with you? Do you have any news of him? He had already asked all the disciples who had returned earlier, and only learned that Ding Wanping had caught the eye of a soul master and became the young master of the Ding clan. Fang Chen recalled Ding Zuhui's request and recounted the entire sequence of events to Lai Qingfeng. After listening, Lai Qingfeng's heart trembled, a tinge of sorrow flashing across his eyes, yet he was helpless. No matter what, Ding Wanping was a member of the Ding clan. This was their family affair, and he, an outsider, could not interfere. Even if he had wanted to, it was already too late. Lai Qingfeng sighed. I have always warned him to broaden his mind, guard against arrogance and impetuosity, or he would bring harm upon himself. Who would have thought that my warning would come to pass in the end? Looking at Fang Chen, who stood neither humble nor arrogant with a calm, steady aura, he could not help but think to himself that if Ding Wanping had even half of Fang Chen's steadiness, he would not have suffered such a tragic fate. With this thought, he realized Fang Chen was not entirely useless. His unexpected, astonishing gains in this operation must be closely related to his exceptional mental fortitude. He raised his hand and patted Fang Chen's shoulder. You did well this time. However, you are still far from worthy of my 2 female disciples. Cultivate diligently. Fang Chen felt a strange sense of disbelief. Was this the same Lai Qingfeng who had always found fault with him, no matter what he did? Shaking his head, he led the 2 young women to the Holy Temple. In front of the Holy Temple, 2 slovenly old men were whispering to each other. One of them was Huang Zhanshan, the guardian of the Scripture Pavilion. When he saw Fang Chen approaching, he said hurriedly, Old Zheng, that is the young man I spoke of. Old Zheng was Zheng Qiushuang, another supreme elder, who was responsible for guarding the Holy Temple. Zheng Qiushuang followed Huang Zhanshan's gaze and looked over, a doubtful expression on his face. His cultivation is far too low, only the 4th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm. Have you read too many improper books and ruined your eyesight, that you think so highly of this boy? Huang Zhanshan rolled his eyes. Have I ever misjudged someone? Zheng Qiushuang curled his lip. Fine, haven't they just returned from hunting demonic beasts? Let me see how your favored disciple performed in this mission. I hope he doesn't only have a single merit point to his name. Huang Zhanshan's heart skipped a beat. He valued Fang Chen for his incredible comprehension of cultivation methods and his boundless martial potential, but he truly had no idea what Fang Chen had achieved this time. However, he did not want to reveal Fang Chen's heaven, defying talents for fear that others would covet him, so he could not speak plainly. He could only stiffen his resolve and say, "He has extraordinary strengths regardless. You must vote for him." Zheng Qiushuang remained unmoved. "I will make my decision after observing him first." Zheng Qiushuang swept his gaze across the crowd, saw that almost everyone had arrived, and slowly stood up, saying, "Form an orderly line and register your merit points one by one." Everyone knew he was a supreme elder, so who dared to cause trouble? Even the arrogant Tang Tianlong was as docile as a lamb, and lined up obediently. When over half of the people had registered, Zheng Qiushuang kept a blank expression the entire time. Only when Tang Tianlong recorded 41 merit points did he nod slightly in approval. Soon it was Fang Chen's turn. Huang Jianshan craned his neck to look over, muttering, "This boy better not make me lose face. I risked my old reputation to recommend him." Zheng Qiushuang gave Fang Chen a meaningful glance and asked, "How many merit points do you have?" Fang Chen took out the certificate issued by the Reward and Punishment Hall Deacon and placed it in front of him. Zheng Qiushuang glanced down, skimmed it roughly, and could not help but be shocked. 80. Tang Tianlong only has 40. This boy actually has double Tang Tianlong's points. He really does have some skill. No wonder Huang Jianshan thinks so highly of him. 80 points, not bad. Zheng Qiushuang smiled slightly. However, when he checked the certificate carefully, his smile froze. He had missed 2 characters in front of the 80, 100. It was 180. Zheng Qiushuang let out a low cry of disbelief. How did he manage this? A single Foundation Establishment Realm demonic beast is worth 10 points. 180 points would mean he killed 18 Foundation Establishment Realm demonic beasts alone. Have all the Foundation Establishment Realm demonic beasts in 100 Beasts Mountain turned into wooden stakes, standing still waiting for him to kill them with a single sword strike each. He even suspected the certificate was fake and examined it closely. He found detailed records on it and could not help but read aloud, "Foundation Establishment Realm Demonic Beast, Golden Core Realm Demonic Beast." Zheng Qiushuang jerked his head up, looking at Fang Chen as if he had seen a ghost, and asked in shock, "You killed a Golden Core Realm Demonic Beast?" Fang Chen was startled by his reaction and did not dare to lie. It had already been heavily injured by someone else. This disciple only took the opportunity to finish it off. But Zheng Qiushuang knew very well that even a dying demonic beast was extremely dangerous. As the saying goes, a cornered beast will still fight. The closer a demonic beast is to death, the more ferocious its desperate attacks become. Without sufficient strength, one could never kill it. Huang Jianshan squeezed over, saw the achievements recorded on the certificate, and was also stunned. He then said proudly, "Old Zheng, dare say my eyesight is failing now." Zheng Qiushuang looked at Fang Chen and had to admit that Huang Jianshan had truly found an extraordinary young talent. He pursed his lips and said defiantly, "It is too early to say that. Let us see how he performs inside the Holy Temple first." He then allowed Fang Chen and the 2 young women to enter. After entering the Holy Temple, a wave of mist washed over them, shrouding the surroundings in complete blurriness, so thick that one could not even see their own hand in front of their face. Fang Chen was stunned for a moment, then quickly recognized what it was, his pupils constricting. This is spiritual Kai mist. Only when spiritual Kai is so dense that it can no longer exist in its gaseous state will it condense into this form of mist. This was the place with the most abundant spiritual Kai he had ever encountered. No wonder everyone was desperate to cultivate in the Holy Temple. If one cultivated here for just a few days, a breakthrough was almost guaranteed. He held the 2 young women's hands, groped his way to a quiet corner, and said in a low voice, "Circulate the cultivation method I passed to you, and see if there are any flaws in your circulation." With such abundant spiritual Kai, cultivation speed depends entirely on one's spirit root and cultivation method. A higher grade spirit root increases the speed of spiritual Kai absorption, while a higher grade cultivation method increases the speed of spiritual Kai refinement. The higher the grade of both, the faster one's cultivation progress will be. The 2 young women also realized this was an extremely rare opportunity and immediately sat cross-legged to circulate their cultivation method. They usually received guidance from Lai Qingfeng, but the cultivation method they practiced was the profound, rank technique Fang Chen had passed to them. Lai Qingfeng was not familiar with this technique, so he was unable to detect any flaws in their circulation. As soon as the 2 young women began circulating the technique, Fang Chen spotted a large number of flaws in their execution. After he guided them to correct each flaw one by one, the circulation speed of their cultivation method increased by more than double. "Thank you, husband," Chen Xiling said excitedly. I don't even know what realm I will be able to reach after 5 days of cultivation here. She is currently at the 9th layer of the Kai condensation realm, while Liu Ruxu is at the 1st layer of the foundation establishment realm. Fang Chen also felt a tinge of anticipation, immediately sat cross-legged, and began cultivating silently. All three of them cultivate Fang Chen's dragon, seeking scripture *. The only difference is that Fang Chen possesses a transparent spirit root, Liu Ruxu has a 7th grade spirit root, and Chen Xiling has a 6th grade spirit root. A day and a half later, Fang Chen opened his eyes, sharp light bursting from his pupils. Sensing the surging, endless spiritual power within him, a look of delight crossed his face. 5th layer of the foundation establishment realm. In merely a day and a half, such a feat was nothing short of defying the heavens. Turning to Chen Xiling and Liu Ruxu, Chen Xiling had successfully reached the foundation establishment realm, while Liu Ruxu had advanced to the 2nd layer of the foundation establishment realm. Catching up to Liu Ruyan, though their cultivation speed would gradually slow down afterward, there was still a high chance they could advance one more realm. At the entrance of the Divine Hall, most disciples had long departed. Tang Tianlong and Liu Ruyan were among those who had spent the longest time cultivating inside. Liu Ruyan's eyes shone with elation, and she thanked him profusely. "Thank you, Senior Brother Tang. Thank you so much, Senior Brother Tang." Under Tang Tianlong's guidance, and aided by the uniquely blessed environment of the Divine Hall, she had shattered her shackles and broken through to the 3rd layer of the foundation establishment. Realm. Tang Tianlong smiled gently, then turned to glance at the Divine Hall behind him, snorting coldly. "I will return here in 3 days. I would like to see if he can also raise the cultivation of 2 women by an entire realm, just as I have done." 2 days later, Fang Chen broke through another realm, reaching the 6th layer of the foundation establishment realm. When he tried to continue cultivating, he felt a stabbing pain in his meridians, caused by impure spiritual power that failed to circulate smoothly. In simpler terms, his foundation was unstable. In the later stages of the foundation establishment realm, every breakthrough required a solid, consolidated foundation. Breaking through 2 layers in a row had already hit his limit. He could not force further advancements recklessly. Fang Chen had no choice but to halt his cultivation. With 2 days still remaining, he recalled the harrowing experience of being hunted down by the Beast King, and decided he needed to raise the level of his movement, technique, solitary, swan gliding, shadow *. He also could not neglect *, roaming dragon palm *, so he switched to cultivating these techniques. Half a day later, he tapped the tip of his toe against the ground, his body as light as a swan, crossing over a dozen zhang in a single step, far more effective than the high-grade magical artifact. Gale Pearl, the 2nd layer, perfected, Fang Chen exclaimed in delight. Next, he turned to cultivating * roaming dragon palm *. Compared to the movement technique, * roaming dragon palm * was far easier to master. In less than half a day, he had successfully learned its 2nd form, Dragon Command. When he threw a punch, it was accompanied by a deafening dragon roar, its power utterly ferocious. Combined with his 6th layer foundation, establishment realm cultivation, no cultivator of the same realm could possibly withstand this blow. The surging fist force swept into the mist ahead. At this time, only the 3 of them remained in the Divine Hall, with no one else present, so Fang Chen had not paid any attention to his surroundings. Unexpectedly, a woman's pained grunt came from not far away. "Ouch, who did that? Can't you watch where you're throwing your punches?" Fang Chen was stunned. How could there still be someone here? It's already the 4th day. Shouldn't everyone have left long ago? But no matter what, he had injured someone, so he hurriedly apologized. "Fairy, I am truly sorry. I thought no one else was here." Unexpectedly, the other party was not the type to let the matter go easily. She huffed angrily. "If an apology fixed everything, what would we need fists for? Stand still and let me punch you back once." Fang Chen was helpless. She sounded like a young girl, so her punch should not be too powerful. He figured he might as well let her hit him once to avoid endless entanglement. But when the girl's punch came flying at him, Fang Chen's expression changed drastically. That punch actually contained the power of the Golden Core realm. Was she trying to kill him? How could Fang Chen dare stand still anymore? He dodged in a panic, saying, "Miss, I did not do it on purpose. Is there a need to strike so viciously?" The other party was extremely unreasonable, gritting her teeth as she said, "I don't care. You hit me, so I have to punch you back once." A vein bulged on Fang Chen's forehead. How could she be so unreasonable? What's more, Liu Ruxu and Chen Xiling were still cultivating not far away. What if they were caught in the crossfire? At that thought, Fang Chen grew angry. "Fine, let's see if you have the skill to hit me." He darted away to another area, leading the willful young girl away with him. The latter heard his footsteps and gave chase as expected, swinging her fists wildly at the thick mist. Each punch made Fang Chen's heart skip a beat. Fortunately, the spiritual fog here was thick, blocking visibility severely and limiting how much of her power she could unleash, or he would have been in deep trouble. Seeing that she was determined to not give up, Fang Chen no longer hesitated. Fine, let's fight. The young girl had zero combat experience. The sounds of her constantly swinging fists gave away her position immediately, so Fang Chen decisively activated his movement technique, darted to the vicinity of her location, and launched a dragon command punch into the mist. Regardless of whether it hit or not, he ran immediately after throwing the punch, giving her no chance to counterattack at all. PFFT, 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 3 punches missed, 1 landed. The young girl was so furious she stamped her feet. She screeched angrily, "Bastard, come out here, I swear I won't beat you to death." Bang! Fang Chen snuck over following the sound of her voice, throwing another punch that landed squarely on her arm. She grimaced in pain and kicked out fiercely, but Fang Chen had already activated his movement technique and fled in time, leaving her kicking at empty air. This went on for half a day. Fang Chen only got grazed on the shoulder by her fist once, leaving a small bruise. The silly young girl, on the other hand, had been punched who knows how many times. Finally, she could not take it anymore, wailing loudly as she ran out of the divine hall. At this moment, Huang Jianshan and Zheng Qiushuang were lying on chairs, basking in the sun. Huang Jianshan checked the time and said, "It's almost been 5 days. That brat should be coming out soon." Zheng Qiushuang snapped coldly, "Hold your horses. Once he emerges, I shall see for myself how much his strength has improved. If there is no progress to speak of, do not blame me for refusing. Spare you face." At that very moment, the grand gates were flung open. Nangong Zheoyan rubbed her bleary eyes, sobbing piteously as she sprinted out. "Waya, Vice Pavilion Master, come quickly. Someone is bullying me, Waya." The two immediately sat upright, their gazes locking onto Nangong Zheoyan, and they jolted in shock at her miserable state. Her face was covered in bruises, her pretty pink dress torn to tattered strips by fist force, her jet, black braided hair now a disheveled mess spilling over her shoulders. They almost failed to recognize this as the adorable young maiden Yu Yunzi had brought with him. As a guest, no less a distinguished visitor from the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, they had naturally granted her entry when she stated she wished to cultivate inside. How had she ended up in such a wretched state? As the steward of the Saint Hall, Zheng Qiushuang hurriedly asked, "Miss Nangong, what has befallen you?" Hearing that someone would stand up for her, Nangong Zheoyan cried even harder, "Someone inside struck me." The only people remaining in the Saint Hall at present were Fang Chen and his 2 wives. Both wives possessed very low cultivation realms, so the one who had assaulted Nangong Zheoyan could only be Fang Chen. Nangong Zheoyan wailed for a while, and when Yu Yunzi did not appear, she ran off howling to gather reinforcements. Staring at her retreating back, Zheng Qiushuang was dumbfounded. If my memory serves me right, Nangong Zheoyan is the top heavenly pride of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, is she not? What is more, she broke through to the Golden Core realm not long ago. She was beaten by Fang Chen. Huang Jianshan was equally stunned, then scrubbed his face roughly. Good heavens, he can even thrash a Golden Core realm cultivator. What sort of monstrous talent have I set my eyes on? A short while later, as the allotted cultivation period ended, the 3 people inside walked out. Zheng Qiushuang and Huang Jianshan both turned their gazes to Fang Chen simultaneously. They had assumed that after a fierce battle with a Golden Core realm cultivator, he would at least bear some injuries. But the result made the 2 old men's eyes nearly pop out of their heads. Aside from the skin on his fists being worn raw from throwing too many punches, not a single other wound could be seen on him. Zheng Qiushuang patted Huang Jianshan on the back and said, "Old rascal, this Fang Chen is truly extraordinary. I cast my vote for him." At the same time, Tang Tianlong and Liu Ruyan arrived together, followed by a number of disciples who had come to watch the spectacle. Even Lai Qingfeng had come specially to welcome the 2 women upon their exit from seclusion. The formerly cold and quiet entrance of the Saint Hall immediately burst with lively commotion. Tang Tianlong crossed his arms over his chest and spoke in a mocking tone. "How goes it, number 1? Don't tell me that after 5 days of cultivation, your 2 wives haven't even broken through a single minor realm." Liu Ruyan glowed with divine light, her tone brimming with pride. "Under senior brother Tang's guidance, I have already broken through to the 3rd level of the Foundation Establishment realm, and I only cultivated for a day and a half. Chen Xiling, the 2 of you have cultivated arduously for 5 days. Surely you are not worse than me." Lai Qingfeng was also confused as to what had gotten into Liu Ruyan. She was usually so reasonable, was she not? Though she had a touch of arrogance born of her exceptional talent, She was usually calm and mild in her interactions with others. Why was she like a feisty chili pepper whenever Fang Chen was present, lashing out at everyone in sight? All three young women were his disciples, and all were exceptionally gifted. He did not want ill will to fester between them, so he first tried to give Chen Xiling and Liu Ruxu a way out. Ruyan, you had senior brother Tang's on-site guidance, so naturally your cultivation progressed faster. They have had to figure everything out on their own. Even if their progress is not remarkable, they deserve encouragement. Do not mock them. Liu Ruyan gnashed her silver teeth slightly. She had waited 3 whole days just to see them make a fool of themselves. Why should she show mercy and let them off so easily? Thus she said with a cold, impassive expression, Master, I can obey your order and refrain from mocking them, but can you silence everyone else's mouths? Face is earned by one's own hands, not given by others. They chose the wrong person to follow, the wrong backer to rely on. Being mocked is the consequence of their own choice. No one else is to blame. Lai Qingfeng's head ached. It seemed that the 3 women would have to settle their scores and determine who was superior today. He only hoped that Chen Xiling and Liu Ruxu's progress was neither too good nor too bad, so that none of the 3 would lose face. The onlooking disciples also spoke up one after another. There's a 90% chance those 2 didn't progress at all. I also don't think they made any progress. Though the Saint Hall has rich spiritual kai, it requires a powerful cultivation method to make use of it. Unlike Liu Ruyan, they don't have a senior brother at the 8th level of the Foundation establishment realm to guide them, so they might not have been able to cultivate smoothly. They cultivated for a full 5 days. If they really didn't make any progress, that would be so humiliating. As the crowd chattered, Liu Ruxu's face flushed red with embarrassment, and she said to Liu Ruyan, Little sister, let it go. What is there for family to compete over? We are only making fools of ourselves in front of outsiders. Liu Ruyan still held respect for this elder sister of hers, so she nodded slightly. Fine, I can skip competing with you, but Chen Xiling, don't think you can avoid this today. Now that she had been called out by name, Chen Xiling had no reason to back down. What's more, she had no need to retreat. Liu Ruyan, you should never have come for this. She had known from the very start that she would not lose, for she was Fang Chen's woman. Ever since they had become Fang Chen's partners, both Liu Ruxu and she had been thoroughly reborn, their strengths soaring by leaps and bounds. What did Liu Ruyan have to beat her with? The ironic thing was, this position by Fang Chen's side was originally supposed to be Liu Ruyan's. She had rejected it herself, giving it to her elder sister first, before it eventually fell to Chen Xiling. What? Don't tell me you actually broke through. Liu Ruyan was slightly startled, but quickly calmed herself down. You were at the 9th level of the Kai condensation realm before, right? Even if you had the luck of heaven and successfully reached the Foundation establishment realm, that is still nothing compared to my breakthrough from the 2nd to 3rd level of the Foundation establishment realm. Tang Tianlong crossed his arms and spoke impatiently. Fang Chen, tell your woman to hurry up and show her cultivation realm. Weren't you so arrogant before? Didn't you claim to be number 1? Let me see if you can still step all over me this time. Lai Qingfeng sighed softly. No matter how you looked at it, Chen Xiling was bound to lose. Even if she really did break through to the Foundation establishment realm, that was nothing to boast about. Just as Liu Ruyan had said, the gap between the 9th level of the Kai condensation realm and the Foundation establishment realm could not compare to the gap between the 2nd and 3rd levels of the Foundation establishment realm. What's more, breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm was not that easy. Without the Foundation establishment pill elixir, one needed a powerful cultivation method. But Chen Xiling had not mastered her cultivation method to a deep level, and without anyone to guide her, breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm would be extremely difficult. Several rather pretty, curvaceous female disciples whispered among themselves, You didn't see how smug Chen Xiling was when Fang Chen just won first place. She really thought she had latched onto an extraordinary husband. She won't be laughing for much longer. Chen Xiling's eyes brimmed with helplessness. Since a comparison was unavoidable, she would grant Liu Ruyan's wish. A faint stir of her will cause the spiritual power within her to surge forth slowly. All onlookers couldn't help but fix their gazes upon her, and feeling the formidable spiritual power unique to the Foundation establishment realm, every single one of them was shaken to their core. Foundation establishment realm. She actually succeeded in forming her foundation. Several pretty female disciples gnashed their silver teeth, seething with unwillingness. Her luck is far too absurd to pull off a successful Foundation establishment even with no one to guide her. So what if she broke through to Foundation establishment? She still can't hold a candle to Liu Ruyan. What's more, she spent a full 5 days cultivating, while Liu Ruyan only took a day and a half. Does she even have the face to show off? Tang Tianlong was shocked. she really had broken through to the Foundation establishment realm, even without Fang Chen's guidance. What preposterous good fortune! Even so, she was no match for Liu Ruyan. Though he had long braced for the possibility, the confirmation that Chen Xiling had indeed broken through to Foundation establishment still filled him with great displeasure. His only consolation was that the results of Chen Xiling's 5 days of cultivation could not compare to what his side had achieved in a day and a half, which soothed his ego somewhat. Liu Ruyan scoffed, "It's nothing impressive," but before she could finish her sentence, she noticed that Chen Xiling's spiritual power was still surging outward, showing no sign of stopping. It soon reached the level of the second layer of Foundation establishment, and only halted once it hit the perfected state. Even Lai Qingfeng was taken aback. Perfected second layer of Foundation establishment. He exclaimed in delight, "Xiling, how did you manage this? Going straight from the 9th layer of Kai condensation to the perfected second layer of Foundation establishment in one go is simply astounding. Even if I personally guided you every step of the way, I might not be able to achieve such a result." The group of pretty female disciples were too stunned to speak. In a mere 5 days, she had broken through to the perfected second layer of Foundation establishment. With a short period of secluded cultivation, she would be able to break through to the 3rd layer of Foundation establishment, catching up to their own cultivation bases. But they were all veteran disciples, while Chen Xiling had only joined the sect a month prior. Tang Tianlong lowered his arms that had been folded across his chest, his face filled with shock. "Perfected second layer of Foundation establishment? How is that possible with no guidance? Fang Chen, did you hire someone else to teach her on your behalf?" As soon as the words left his mouth, he realized he had asked a foolish question. Merit points were scarce enough as it was. How could he possibly spare enough to pay someone for 5 days of guidance? The onlookers were dumbfounded, going from 9th layer Kai condensation to 2nd layer Foundation establishment in 5 days. If there isn't a senior expert guiding her, I'll piss upside down. Chen Xiling really didn't pick wrong. She latched onto a good man. If I'd known earlier, I would have become Fang Chen's woman too. Her gains are far greater than Liu Ruyan's, that's for sure. Liu Ruyan could not accept this. Back when she was the revered heavenly talent of Guzhou City, Chen Xiling was merely a woman with trash, dear spiritual roots, no prospects in the martial path, fit only to be a petty merchant. But ever since she became Fang Chen's concubine, her fortunes had soared, climbing higher and higher step by step, until now she was nearly on equal footing with her. This earth-shattering change was like slap after slap to her face, a constant reminder that the more resolute she had been in rejecting Fang Chen back then, the more idiotic her choice had been. The raging turmoil in her mind nearly drove her insane. Burning with inexplicable resentment, she charged forward abruptly, slapping her palm straight for Chen Xiling's chest as she shrieked, "I don't believe it. I don't believe you're at the second layer of Foundation establishment." Her strike came without the slightest warning, catching everyone off guard. Even Chen Xiling was startled by her manic action and hastily raised her arm to block. She was only at the 2nd layer of Foundation establishment, while Liu Ruyan was at the 3rd layer and had cultivated offensive cultivation methods on top of that. How could Chen Xiling possibly withstand that blow? She would likely have her bones shattered by the palm strike. Fortunately, Fang Chen had been on alert this entire time. His brow furrowed, and he was just about to intervene when Liu Ruxu acted first. Her face twisted with fury, she grabbed Liu Ruyan's wrist and said in displeasure, "Ruyan, what are you doing? Calm down." Liu Ruyan was already beside herself with rage, and would not listen to anyone's dissuasion. Her voice was shrill as she snarled, "Let go. This is none of your business, and you have no right to meddle." She had never looked up to her older sister Liu Ruxu her entire life. Even after they both joined the Qingyun sect, her own strength was far greater than Liu Ruxu's. Liu Ruxu was anxious and had no choice but to channel her spiritual power and push forward. Caught off guard, Liu Ruyan was sent stumbling back repeatedly. She stared at Liu Ruxu in shock. What realm are you at? I used my full strength in that palm strike. Liu Ruxu was only at the 1st layer of Foundation establishment before. How could she possibly push me back?" Lai Qingfeng had watched the entire scene unfold and could not help but cry out in surprise. "Perfected 3rd layer of Foundation establishment. Ruxu, your progress is also this astonishing." The entire crowd erupted into an uproar, their faces filled with disbelief. It was not only Chen Xiling who had made miraculous progress. Liu Ruxu had also improved by leaps and bounds. Just who was guiding them to grant them all such astounding improvements? The most shocked of all was undoubtedly Liu Ruyan. She stared at Liu Ruxu, her vision darkening. The only thing she had left to be proud of in front of Liu Ruxu was her own strength, but that pride that had sustained her for over a decade was completely shattered in this moment. And the cause of all this was that she had pushed her own fiancé onto her sister. Why is this happening? Why? Liu Ruyan broke down, two streams of tears rolling down her cheeks. Her embarrassing outburst also made Tang Tianlong lose face completely. He had once pounded his chest and boasted that what he gave Liu Ruyan would be far more than what Fang Chen gave his two wives. But what was the result? He had lost utterly and pushed Liu Ruyan to this state of breakdown. He hurriedly tried to soothe her. Liu Shaimai, I am here. You have nothing to worry about. Before he could finish speaking, Liu Ruyan cut him off, her voice filled with crushing disappointment. Save it. You can never win against Fang Chen. She wiped her tears and ran off. The greatest insult to a man is being called useless, especially by a beautiful woman in public. Being spoken to like that by Liu Ruyan, Tang Tianlong laughed in anger. I am inferior to Fang Chen. I, Tang Tianlong, am inferior to a useless trash with no spiritual roots. This is the greatest humiliation of all. Rage surged through him, his spiritual power roiling violently as he roared, Fang, do you dare fight me? Fang Chen sighed. Disaster falls from the sky even when one sits quietly at home, but since the other party was being so aggressive, he had no reason to back down. He flipped his hand to grip the hilt of the black sword on his back and said calmly, Sure, I'll play with you for a bit. I just broke through to the 6th layer of Foundation establishment and need plenty of battle experience to solidify my foundation. Tang Tianlong is at the 8th layer of Foundation establishment, and a veteran disciple with rich combat experience. He is the perfect opponent. Temper my spiritual power. Play with me, heh, heh, heh. That casual tone made Tang Tianlong feel even more insulted. He laughed furiously. You really think you're above me? I'll teach you your first life lesson. Arrogance only brings ruin. His spiritual power churned, so powerful that it made his robes flutter loudly in the wind. Just as tensions between the two reached a boiling point, swords drawn and bows bent. Lai Qingfeng's brow darkened, and he said sternly, Are the two of you planning to cause trouble in front of the two supreme elders? Tang Tianlong's heart skipped a beat, and only then did he notice that Huang Zhanshan and Zheng Qiushuang were watching this very scene. He was so terrified that he immediately withdrew his roiling spiritual power. Private fighting between disciples was strictly forbidden by the sect. Breaking the sect rules right in front of the supreme elders was tantamount to showing them outright disrespect. He glared viciously at Fang Chen, full of unwillingness, and said, When the disciple evaluation takes place, I hope you are just as confident as you are today. The disciple evaluation would be held in half a month's time, and Tang Tianlong was the one in charge of conducting the evaluations. Fang Chen frowned slightly. He was confident that his current strength was more than enough to avoid being forced into a sorry state by Tang Tianlong. The authority to assign rankings rests entirely in his hands. If one cannot display strength that absolutely surpasses his, they will leave him an opening to issue a malicious, unfairly low rating. Therefore, he must continue to grow his strength. Before that, he needs to find a way to engage in a large number of real combat battles to solidify his cultivation foundation. I am sorry, husband, I have caused you trouble. Chen Xiling's face was full of guilt and remorse. Her dispute with Liu Ruyan ultimately dragged Fang Chen into the crossfire. Tang Tianlong was consumed by raging fury, so it was easy to imagine how harshly he would make things difficult for Fang Chen during the upcoming disciple ranking assessment. Fang Chen paid the matter no heed. He reached out to smooth the furrow between her brows and spoke in a warm voice. Since you regard me as your husband, I shall bear all the responsibilities that come with the role. Chen Xiling was deeply moved. Though she was only a concubine, Fang Chen had never belittled her and treated her no worse than he treated Liu Ruxu.